to you and welcome to Powerbrief. Tonight we take a keen look into Nairobi County politics. From March this year, we've witnessed a number of changes that have occurred since the inception of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services led by General Badi. We've had a number of occurrences, that is the admission of the Speaker of the County Assembly, Beatrice Elachi, and also some of the comments that have been coming from the Nairobi County Governor, Mike Sonko. We are joined by Mr. Mike Oleo, who is a public policy analyst. He will take us through this show as we look into some of the current affairs happening in the public and politics of Kenya, and also this matter of the Nairobi County government. My name is Cornelius Omuse, and I welcome you to join us in this conversation. Remember, this conversation is also live on our Facebook page, KAK TV Kenya, and our YouTube channel is KAK TV Kenya. Mr. Oleo, welcome to Powerbrief tonight.
Thank you for having me.
It's been moments we've really been having that anxiety to have you on the show to look into some of these political affairs, but finally you are here. So briefly tell our viewers, how is your locality and some of your encounters as far as the war against COVID-19 is concerned? Is the war still on, or something is happening on the relaxation of the measures?
Oh, about COVID.
Yes.
Thank you, Cornelius. You know, COVID is a pandemic. COVID-19 is a pandemic, and it is going to be with us for a long time. Mm-hmm. We may get a vaccine, we may get a cure for it, but it's not going anywhere soon. And I think humanity must now decide how to manage it and how to deal with it, because it's not going to evaporate from the atmosphere soon. So I think it's important that as a society we study how to deal with it here, and we also study how they are dealing with it elsewhere, so that we borrow the best practices from other countries that are managing it. It's not only affecting us as a country, and therefore it's a global thing. So we must also be ready to study what's going on and how other countries are managing it. Correct.
Now let's come to politics. Actually, on Tuesday, we saw the Deputy President William Ruto when he met the delegation from Kajiado County. He was actually in high spirits, talking of how he himself is prepared for the deep state, aka system, and he said he has the people and God. And for a long time now, a number of people, especially now when we look at the citizens, a number of them may not really come to understand what is system, what is deep state, and exactly what is it, just from the definition, before we go and understand also on the political aspect. What is this deep state and system, as a number of people usually put it?
Cornelius, you know, these are all colloquialisms for stratagems that are used to subvert the rule of law. When somebody talks about deep state delivering an electoral victory, or a system delivering an electoral victory, it means that an electoral victory has ceased to be the result of the participation of the citizens in the choice of their leaders. People should vote for whom they want to lead them. But if there is another system that delivers that victory, then that is subversion of the rule of law, which means that is corruption in itself. So when people talk about the system, or when people talk about the deep state, basically those are colloquial terms for corruption, because that means that there is another stratagem that interferes with the people's will to elect the leaders of their choice. That is it. So how powerful or how unpowerful it is, it is supposed to be cause for worry for everybody. That at least there is a mechanism that is used to undermine the people's democratic choices in an election in this country, and it's not good news.
Now, looking at the position that Honorable Dr. William Ruto holds in this country, actually is the second in command from the head of state.
Correct.
Who are these people? Do you believe that there are other powerful forces that are beyond the president and him, because it's just one step away from power, or the real power as people call it, where the sword lies?
You know, there is the law and there is politics. In law, the president is the most powerful person in the country, followed by the deputy president. In politics, there could be other shadowy forces. So when the deputy president talks about the system or he talks about the deep state, which is not the president and himself, he's only talking about other forces, which honestly can only be shadowy forces that he could be referring to. Now, the deputy president has been in politics for a long time, and he has been in power for a long time. So we trust and believe that he knows what he's talking about. If he can stand in broad daylight like he did on Tuesday, on Monday?
It was on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, right?
When he actually came out.
Yeah, when he came out and he said that there is a system and there is deep state, he knows what he's talking about. Or if he doesn't know, he ought to know what he's talking about. Then the questions are, has the system and the deep state worked before? Since he's been there, can he now tell us more? Have they worked before to deliver victory or to deliver a certain desired electoral result? If they have worked before, can they work again? And if they can work again, in whose favor? Can they work in his favor or can they work against him? And from there, then the next question is, if that system or deep state is meant to work against him, what can he do about it? Can he dismantle it? Since he's been part of the system, he's been in power, he's been in politics for a very long time, can he dismantle it? Can he take it head on? Because when I watched that clip, he said he's waiting for it. Can he tackle it and dismantle it? Or will it overwhelm him as well? So I think he owes us, as Kenyans, he owes us a lot more in terms of explanation on how these systems work, or how this deep state works, and how he came to know about it, and what can be done about it.
So there are those ones who feel like the DP has been contradicting himself, because he talked of supporting the president to accomplish his promises, the agendas that he has, and then at the same time, as far as the 2022 elections, general elections are concerned, is coming out to talk of those people are about to block him. What is this so urgent that it has to be him, or him repeating these sentiments every now and then, that there are people who are ganging up against him? Is the campaign out?
One, I think the deputy president has all the rights to campaign to be president of Kenya. The law allows him, and there is nothing stops him from campaigning. It only depends on how he does it or how he goes about it. So, as far as I'm concerned, he should continue doing what he's doing, or campaigning the way he does. But as for people who want to block him, he has not explained much. He has not told us much. Who are they? How are they? How do they want to block him? How much information does he have about these fellows who want to block him? We may need to know more about that. But since he's in a position of authority, even as we speak now, definitely he must be talking from a position of knowledge. He must be knowing them. What he is not doing is he's not giving us more information about
details. So from your own understanding and analysis, he's not only out to seek sympathy, but he might be knowing what he's talking about.
Correct.
Now let's come into the same connection. This now brings us to something called the Mandela moment.
Yes.
We had Murathe over last week talking of it's time we reward Raila, that he has fought so much for Kenya. And then on Sunday, his friend Atwoli, also at his home, stood and was talking to some of the media that actually paid him a visit. He talked of it is time for Raila. And there are political pundits who are reading different scripts. Others are talking of this is just to lure him to achieve certain ends. And there are those ones who are saying, indeed, it is true. These people mean what they're trying to say. And it will bring us now something on another aspect. They are speaking at whose capacity? At people's capacity or at their capacity as two individuals? Now, this issue of the Mandela moment, your analysis and also your input on it.
Okay, I don't know how Murade arrived at the conclusion that this is the Mandela moment
For Raila.
For Raila. I don't know how he arrived at that conclusion. Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. But I want to say this. Raila has been in politics for a very long time. He's an experienced politician. So you mentioned earlier that some people think that he's being used to deliver something. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't think where Raila has reached now, you can misuse him without him knowing. So if anybody is using him to deliver something, I'm sure Raila knows that probably he's being used to deliver whatever it is that needs to be delivered. Because his experience is not in doubt.
Yeah.
Okay? As to whether Kenyans should reward him now or not, again now, that can be very complicated for me, because how will that reward come? You know, in a democracy is different from a monarchy.
Yeah.
In a democracy, when the whistle is blown, rest assured there are other people who will come to the field to contest. So you may wish to make Cornelia as a president, but unless I do my homework well and put in place mechanisms to make sure that I deliver that victory to you, it may be quite an issue. So Murade and Atwoli have every right to wish that Raila becomes president. Maybe he will, maybe he will not, but it will require work. From experience, what I've seen in Kenyan politics, delivering a presidency requires work.
Now,
however popular you are.
What came up, Mr. Oleo, is this aspect, the tone
Yes.
that the two are using.
Yes.
From some observers, is like they were talking of it is time and it must happen. And they've been questioning the capacity of these two elderly leaders, the elders who have been speaking about who deserves to be the president and who does not deserve. Because there was a point that came up that by saa 4 asubuhi, saa 4 asubuhi, mambo yatakuwa imeisha.
Let me tell you, I'm sure you were around in the year 2002 when Moi was leaving power and he nominated Uhuru. And it was, Uhuru was the systems candidate at that time. He was the government candidate at that time. And it was almost assumed that he would easily become president. But then there was another coalition, the one of Kibaki, Raila, Kalonzo, Saitoti, Kamodo, all those fellows. They overwhelmed the choice of the incumbent. If Raila will be the choice of the incumbent in 2022, then the incumbent and those people around the incumbent must work hard to deliver that victory. But I'm just using a simple historical occurrence that in 2002, we saw it happen. To sit back, to wish that somebody becomes president and you sit back and you don't work for it. Uhuru saw dust in 2002. So it is important that whoever wants to create a president or to make somebody a president, whether it's Raila or anybody else, a lot of work must go into it.
So on Raila in this aspect, you'll even get some of those analysts who talks of he's been getting it. We don't want to go into that, but they have been saying he has got support all over the country, from coast to the other end of Turkana and all those places. So they are assuming that indeed his support base is still intact. Do you think something has changed in between here as far as Raila's support is concerned?
Two things. One, so that you don't lose the first point that you mentioned. The electoral system in Kenya has always been faulty. Okay, particularly in presidential elections.
Yeah.
That's why even our last presidential election was nullified, because of illegalities and irregularities, meaning that the system of delivering electoral justice has always been faulty. So that means Kenya has not actually been getting the exact results of their wish from the ballot box, okay? So that takes care of that politics of whether Raila has been winning or not. That can be dealt with in that respect. Now, when it comes to 2022 and Raila's support base, remember Raila recently declared that NASA died a natural death.
Mm-hmm.
That means that the coalition that he had built, that had worked for him in 2013 and 2017, is not the same today. That is the truth of the matter. Okay? Because that time he had Mudavadi with him, he had Kalonzo with him, and he had Wetangula with him. I do not know the nature of relationship between him and those gentlemen as we speak now.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not know if any of those gentlemen will be contesting in 2022. Mm-hmm. Should any of those gentlemen contest in 2022, should any or all contest in 2022, the dynamics will be different.
Or if they decide to back another candidate.
Or if they decide to back another candidate, which is very possible because, politics is the art of the possible. Mm-hmm. Should they choose to back somebody else, then the results cannot be predicted now. Okay? Mm-hmm. It will take time to see the direction that things are going. Mm-hmm. Because you may like them or you may not like them, but they have their own support basis. If they don't have their support basis, they would not have lasted in politics this long. Mm-hmm. Would they?
No.
So they have their support basis. How do those support bases will be mobilized to behave in 2022 is another matter altogether. Mm-hmm. Now, we do not know whether Uhuru's support base will be transferred to Raila. Mm-hmm. Okay? When I watched the clip of Murade, it was like a suggestion that the Mount Kenya support base will now be transferred to Raila. Mm-hmm. Pretty clear. I don't know whether it will work or it will not work. That now we wait and see. Just like I told you, you don't know the dynamics of Mount Kenya politics. Mm-hmm. I don't. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have another candidate, mm-hmm. or probably they don't have another candidate. Should they have another candidate, will they sacrifice that other candidate so that they transfer their support to Raila? Mm-hmm. That one I leave to Kinamurade to
time maybe to tell. Many things, Mr. Michael Leo. Now we come into the big thing tonight about the Nairobi County politics, okay, and what has been witnessed since the tribulation started following Governor Mike Sonko, the cases in court, yes, and to the point where the president appointed general body to head the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. There are a lot of things that have been happening, and the structure of governance in Nairobi City has been giving a number of people, including the residents, both even some of the elites and non-elites, had a time to understand what is really happening. And as we stand now, what is NMS, what is a county government headed by Sonko, and which roles are handled by which department and by who. So in summary, briefly, before we get now into the politics part of it, give us a picture of the structure of what is happening within the Nairobi county government structure of leadership, the NMS, what is the NMS handling, and the county government, what is the county government handling.
Cornelius, this thing is not complicated. Let me just break it down quickly so that you understand it. Mm-hmm. The law allows the county government, in consultation with the national government, to transfer certain functions if it is deemed that the county government cannot function properly, or cannot exercise those functions to the expectations of the people.
Now, before we even go there, many thanks for shedding light, and our viewers are really following it, that it is the law that gives this leeway, this door.
Yes.
Now, at some point, few days ago, Governor Mike Sonko stood up and said that before I did transfer the powers,
yes,
when I got to some place, I was served with liquor,
yes, or
those substances that contaminated his thinking capacity. Then he got into that. Does it tell us that the word go, this transfer of power processes was flawed from the word go, as per all the things counter?
Let me talk about the alcohol part of it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows whether Sonko drank alcohol that day or not. Maybe he did, maybe he did not. Oh,
Being served, not even drinking.
he must have
talked
taken
of
it.
he was served.
If he was served, then but he must have drank it because he
Even
implied that it
admitted-
affected his judgment.
Yeah, he admitted that he took it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it affected his judgment, he must have consumed it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say he took it, he consumed it.
Yeah.
That was a mistake on his part. Because if I come to CAC TV now and you serve me with alcohol here,
Which we cannot do it.
which we cannot do it.
Yeah.
But assuming you serve me here, I have the right to choose whether I will take it or to excuse myself. I think that's how life works, generally. You cannot serve me and force me to drink it. Even if I do, I will tell you, no. Here, I've come for this work and I will not take alcohol. So if he took alcohol that day, makosa ni yake. He made the first mistake. Why would he take alcohol during official functions or during working hours? It doesn't work that. It doesn't make sense. That was the first mistake he made. The second mistake that Sonko made, from what I have been following, is matters to do with documentation.
Yeah.
We deal personally, as Michael Leo, from my corner, I deal with a lot of documents on a day-to-day basis. And the golden rule in matters to do with documentation is any document that requires your signature, you should always take time to study it before you put your hand on it.
Yeah.
Like when Sonko was supposed to sign transfer of functions, did he see the documents beforehand? Did he even request for time? Because if you give me documents here and you tell me, Mike, sign here, I have a right to tell you, Cornelius, just a minute.
Also,
I agree.
actually, you're following the chronology that
Yes.
getting to the location,
Yes.
being served with what he alleged you were served served with, and then straight away to the signing.
Then sign it.
Uh-huh.
If you give me documents here and you tell me, Mike, I want you to sign here, I have a right to tell you, hey, just a minute. Even though there are only 3 pages, allow me to go and read them
And even maybe consult.
and consult, and I'll come back tomorrow. Tomorrow is just less than 24 hours away from now, right? That is how it works when it comes with the documents. But if you operate from a corner where you go to a meeting and you're told sign here and you quickly take a pen and sign, you lose your right to complain later because you signed in the full glare of TV cameras and there are media people there. So he has himself to blame. Now, so there I also blame him. The other thing that went wrong with that whole process is the law of this country requires that matters of this nature should be subjected to public participation so that the people also give their views.
That is Nairobi residents.
Yes,
Yeah.
because those are the people who are concerned by Nairobi County matters. That was not done. Sonko himself, who was elected by the people, did not remember that before he gave up any of those functions, he ought to have consulted the people. And there is a framework for consulting the people. Okay, the public participation process. Nairobi is a very small county. You can cover all the borders in a day. There was nothing hard in consulting the people before signing those documents, transferring the functions. So he went there, he signed, and now we are where we are.
Now, Mr. Olio,
Yes.
let's go back a little bit before we go for a commercial break and come back so that you delve deep into helping the Nairobians
Yes.
and even people beyond, because remember, this is a county or a city
Yes.
that has a focus not only of Kenya but even East Africa, far and beyond.
Yes.
Before Mike Sonko found himself in what is happening right now,
Yes.
at some point, and even until now, he had been banned from accessing his office due to corruption allegations. That was the court order. And there are observers, a good number of them. You remember before this incident happened, Governor Waititu Babayao had just lost his seat. And there are those ones who felt that Sonko was under duress to actually act in the manner that he acted to avoid following whatever a precedent that was formed when Governor Waititu was thrown out of office also. Does that bring any sense according to your political analysis?
You know, Sonko and Waititu are different in this case. Waititu was impeached. Sonko wasn't. Actually, to date, Sonko is still governor of Nairobi, okay?
He's still, but actually he was headed there. You remember the likes of some of the member of county assemblies and some of the discussion that had begun underground, that also he's following suit.
You know, the dynamics of impeachment are pretty simple. When you lose control of the majority of the MCAs, then impeach you. I'm not sure if Sonko had lost the control of the majority of MCAs in Nairobi. I don't know if he had lost that then, or even if he has lost today. I am not so sure, because no poll has been done. Even no opinion poll has been done. None of those MCAs have been interviewed to say whether they support Sonko or not. So, as to whether he was under pressure to sign those documents of the transfer of functions, whether he was under pressure or not, nobody can really talk about that, because he has not said it himself. He has only said that he only talked about alcohol.
Yeah.
But he did not say that somebody else was behind the pressure for him to sign. He has only blamed the alcohol. So we will take him on the basis of the alcohol that he drank. That is what he has offered us.
We go for a quick commercial break.
Yes.
We will be back in a short while looking into what we had begun looking at: transfer of county functions to the national government, what the constitution talks about it, as we are witnessing it in Nairobi County, where we are having the National Nairobi Metropolitan Services led by General Badi, and also another segment that has Governor Mike Sonko. And a few days ago, also we witnessed Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi, Beatrice Elachi, resigning. We look into some of those directions of these issues and matters taking shape in the politics of Nairobi. Keep it on CAT TV.
Life is a journey that requires a lot of preparation. Guys, are you ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Let's buckle up. A lot can happen along the way.
But this is everybody else.
Hey. Guy, ni kama sijabeba your deal.
Now what should we do?
I think we won't go.
Yes, sir, because I can't find it.
But really, who is in charge of your journey? Beginning this Friday, Youth to Co presents The Journey from 8 to 9 p.m. only on CAC TV. See you there.
A tree begins as a seed.
A marriage is instituted.
You now embark on the work of watering it, cultivating it,
Creating legacies from one generation to the other.
That is what growing families takes.
And for powerful discussions on family as we answer questions, demystify myths, and touch on those controversial topics, tune in to CAC TV as we talk a whole lot more about family.
As we grow my family, grow your family, and grow our families.
Because a stable family is a stable society.
Join me, Faith Kaulu, together with Reverend Edward Karanja and Professor Catherine Gashuda on Transforming Families, right here at CAC TV.
With COVID-19 pandemic, there are emerging issues. Relationships, family issues, emotional challenges like anxiety and depression, lack of basic necessities like food, house rent, and such. This is the reality on the ground. And therefore, even with the eventual reopening of the economy, it's not going to be a grand comeback, but rather we need to be ready for a gradual process of recovery.
Consequently, the need for sustained mission to the needy remains. So far, we have been able to reach to 32,000 families through the Adopt a Family initiative. We appreciate everyone who has contributed to this effort through the pay bill number and through the local churches across the country in relieving the suffering of thousands.
God giving us another day, we appeal to you to continue partnering with PCA Mission Department by expressing our extraordinary kindness. For kindness goes with hospitality, and hospitality has a great reward.
And therefore it is amazing how you've continued to support us in this mission of love and kindness. And I urge and humbly ask all of you to continue contributing in kind through our churches and also through our pay bill number 689549. The account name, you still put your name. Let us continue demonstrating our unusual kindness at these unusual times. God bless you all.
Welcome back and many thanks for tuning in to CAC TV on Powerbrief. And tonight we're looking into the current affairs and more so what is happening in the county government of Nairobi, where Governor Mike Sonko finally has said that he's going to work together with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services But again, previously there was such a commitment, but things changed on the way. We are also looking at the implications of the resignation of County Assembly of Nairobi Speaker, that is Beatrice Elachi. We are with Mr. Mike Oleo, who is a public policy analyst. Keep it on Crack TV. Mr. Mike, before we went for a quick commercial break, something had come up.
Yes.
We were just trying to look at the chronology of events, how things have been working in Nairobi. And yesterday again, Mike Sonko, when he met the president and the NMS, the general body, he talked of they're going to work together. At the end of it all, what do you read in it? Because things have been in, out, in, out.
let me break it down this way. You know, the apparent war between Mike Sonko and Major General Badi was, in my opinion, misplaced aggression. Because look, when the deed of transfer was signed and certain functions were given away to the central government or the national government, it was inevitable that a certain body had to be constituted to deliver those services or those functions which had been taken away from the county government. That is what informed now the constitution of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. Okay? Because now functions had been taken away from the county government. Now, who was going to exercise these functions? A body had to be constituted. A vehicle had to be constructed to deliver the services or these functions, to execute these functions as transferred. So, when the Nairobi Metropolitan Service was then constructed to deliver these functions, that was it. They were only constructed and given the functions that they were supposed to deliver. So when now Sonko apparently started a war with them, it was misplaced because it appears he had not understood that those fellows had a mandate to execute. And that was all they were doing. So he ought to have looked at what else was left, what was remaining for him as the governor. He should have proceeded with those. But fighting this other guy was not going to help him anywhere. And I'm glad now you've said that he has agreed to work with him. Because there was no other alternative, there was no option. He had to work with the fellow because the fellow was executing his mandate. You know, when you are appointed to be the Director General of the Nairobi Metropolitan Service, you are given your JD, your job description, and your terms of reference. And then you look at them. And that is what you work with. That is what the Major General has been working with. Nothing beyond that. So it was high time that Sonko realized to work with this fellow. And I'm glad now he has come to senses of working with him. As to whether he will keep his word, as to whether Sonko, the politician, will keep his word or not, I don't know. We give that time. But if I were him, I would work with the Major General.
Thanks. Now, there is this matter also of Beatrice Elachi. It still revolves around the leadership of the Nairobi County government.
Yes.
You understand the crucial role that the Speaker of a County Assembly of a magnitude of Nairobi County holds, the position, the importance and everything. Elachi all of a sudden resigned, and even what you've seen in the dailies is that she didn't follow the right procedure of resignation. She handed the letter to someone else and all that. So generally, what does this resignation of Elachi pose, especially bearing in mind the procedure that she followed and the circumstances that surrounded her resignation?
Thank you, Cornelius. I don't think we should read too much in the resignation of Beatrice Elachi. Because people resign all the time. Even you, when you are tired of working for CAC, you will just resign. You will just do a letter and hand it over to your appointing authority. Now, that is what Elachi did not do. When she resigned, she did not hand over her resignation letter as required by law to the clerk. That is the person she can send her resignation letter to, or to the governor if he's in place. But not the president. You know, the president is not part of that arrangement. But anyway, she has resigned, and that letter has been acted on. I saw already there is a notice inviting people to apply to become Speaker, I hope you will also apply. Speaker.
I'm a journalist, I'm sorry for that, but I hope you'll do it.
So, I'm not reading too much into it. She has resigned. She could not work with those people. You see, the position of Speaker of any assembly, whether it is county assembly or national assembly or the Senate, the position of the Speaker depends on the goodwill of the members who sit there. If the Speaker can no longer gain the confidence of the members who sit there, then the position of Speaker becomes untenable and very difficult. It is just that simple. So a Speaker who is not very good at working with the MCS, even if she or he is backed by very powerful people, will always have it rough. And from what I saw in the county assembly here in Nairobi, Elechi had reached the dead end. Elachi had reached the dead end because she had problems with the Speaker, with the clerk, and she had problems with the MCS. It was not going to be easy. Okay? And it was time for her to just give up. So I don't see anything. But then she said that there were some calls that threatened her. I'm sure you read that.
The issue of the threats and
the
calls.
Threats.
And also a concern arises here.
I wanted to talk about those threats from the position of law. Elachi knows or ought to have known or ought to know that we have a legal system in this country. We have a constitution, we have the statutes. Ordinarily, when you face any threats or when you receive any threats, your first stop should be at the nearest police station. You record a statement. You are given a piece of paper. You record a statement. You mention what the threat is, the nature of that threat, who threatened you, and if you know him, where he or she is. If you don't know the person, you leave it to the police to start launching investigations. That is how you deal with matters in a civilized society. You don't refuse to report to the police and then you go to the media and say you received threats. Then it is just mischief now, because nobody can now take her seriously. Did she report? Does she have an OB number? How would she want that matter to be resolved? Okay, where would the police begin? They have no report. So who can act on that? So I think she was just being mischievous when she talked about those threats. Maybe they are there, maybe they are not there. But as a responsible citizen, somebody who can rise to the level of being a senator, you know, she was a nominated senator before she became Speaker of the County Assembly. She knows that the right way to go about it is start by reporting and giving the police all the assistance that they need in terms of information on how to pursue those threats to their logical conclusion. Now you can go ahead.
Now, as we come to the home stretch, we look into a number of suggestions.
Yes.
Where some of these counties, let's dwell in Nairobi because it is our focus tonight.
Yes.
Where there have been suggestions and opinions that if it were possible, Nairobi should not be left at the hands of politicians, bearing in mind the seriousness that the city holds, or it being the heart of Kenya. Like, let it be appointive positions. We don't have MCAs, we don't have a governor, but we have someone directly responsible to the state.
I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't agree with that because, you see, the people who live in Nairobi, they have their rights. They are human beings and they have their rights. They have a right to choose who to serve them. They have a right to elect who to work for them. It is only when they exercise that right to choose or to elect who works for them that they can now hold that person accountable. It may look crazy because, you know, democracy has very funny outcomes. Democracy can give you very, even almost a crazy fellow as your leader because it's one man, one vote. So when somebody wins an election, he becomes your leader. Human societies have counted those before. Very many elections have given us mad men and mad women in human history. But that does not mean we should give up our rights to choose or to elect those who work for us or those who serve us, those whom we can hold accountable. Now, if you remove the authority from the served to elect those who will serve them, how will they hold them accountable? How? It will not be easy. So, personally, I belong to the political persuasion that people should elect those who serve them. What needs to be done, from what we have seen, is we should work out structures and institutions which are strong enough to take care of any madman who comes to power. Because they will always come. Unpredictable fellows will always ascend to power and assume office. But if they find working institutions and working structures of governance
that can accommodate their shortcomings and weaknesses, that's where you are actually
that will manage them. Even some presidents right now in the world, some of them are just psychos, but the systems that they work with manage them. So that they cannot run away with the country the way they want. So for those who want the right of the people to elect their leaders to be taken away, that one I don't agree.
Things should remain as it is so that they can also enjoy the privileges that other counties are enjoying.
What we should be doing about Nairobi is we should be doing an evaluation on how to optimize service delivery, how to strengthen the institutions of governance and the institutions of service delivery within the city. So that whoever comes later, because you see, Mike Sonko will not be governor forever. In any case, even if he wins re-election, the law is very clear he cannot serve for more than 2 terms. So the farthest he can go is to be re-elected in 2022, which means 2027, unless you change the law, he's on his way out. So he should not even be the center of our discussion about how Nairobi is governed. Nairobi should occupy our minds as Nairobi. How do we want it to be governed going forward for the next 50, 70 or even 100 years? Because governors will come and go. Some will last for just a year. Some will be impeached along the way. Okay? Wambora was impeached how many times in the last parliament? Almost, I think, 3 times. So what we should be dealing with as a county is to interrogate the governance structures and to evaluate them and to see how to strengthen them so that people come and go, but the structures work for the people.
Many thanks, Mr. Olio. Now, finally, just looking at how things are fared on, I know you do use the services that are found within this county.
Yes.
Just a brief analysis looking into the two since the NMS came on board and the leadership of the county government. How has things, are there any changes you're seeing when they are working now together? This one working from this end and another one working.
There are a lot of changes. A lot of changes. You can tell that with the coming of the Nairobi Metropolitan Service. I don't want to use the Major General himself.
No, just use the structure because
even tomorrow he may go and another director may come.
It could even be you.
Thank God. A lot has changed. Now, even if you are in the city center, you will see that things are going on. People are working. You can see the walkways. You can see the pavements are being worked on. You can see even the garbage is being collected. There's a lot of difference. It is visible. And you start asking yourself certain questions. Where was all that money going? Where was all that money going? Because if there is money that can now be doing all that work, you can see the pavements are going on, the walkways are going on, the garbage is being collected. All these things are going on with the same money that the county had at that time. Then where was the money going? So I can attest on live TV that I think the services have improved a lot since those functions were taken away from the county to the Nairobi Metropolitan Service.
Now, these policy makers, the formulators, they usually watch CAC TV on a regular basis.
Yes.
And even the citizens of Nairobi County, because even where we are right now, it is in Nairobi.
Yes.
There are these things that you feel have not really been attended to properly in history, and even before devolution, during devolution, and even currently, you are not seeing that they are being addressed or any hint of them being addressed. briefly come up with those things that you feel the authorities and even the citizens can present to their leaders as far as the service delivery to the people of Nairobi County is concerned. Nairobi County Stock City.
Are you talking of services which I feel are not being delivered now the way they ought to be?
Yes.
I am very sure that as we are talking, number one, water has not reached all the residents of Nairobi. And I think as a county we need to work on a master plan on how water reaches all the citizens of this country. Because you see, we are dicing with death. When the provision of water is unstable, like it is now, it's very easy for communicable, these diseases that just move easily among people to start. Things like cholera, things like typhoid, you know, all these things.
You're forgetting COVID.
Even COVID. People need reliable sources of water, decent and reliable sources of water. This city is doing badly when it comes to water. People are buying water, and the water they are buying, they don't know where that water is coming from. Which means we are living very dangerously. If I were to put these priorities, I think water would be the first priority that should be dealt with in this city. Because it's crazy. It's crazy out here. I don't know how you get your supplies around here from for the water services. Two, we need to plan this city. And so that we know even where do people live. Okay? You cannot govern people whom you don't know and you don't know where they live. Where do Nairobians live? If you want to reach them, if you want to go give them, like due to COVID now, you want to give people food, where do you get them? And how do you ensure? I'm sure you may tell me that you talk to the chief and the sub-chief and you give them those sacks to deliver food to them. How sure are you they will deliver? Or how sure are you they will not take those to sell? They will. So we have not planned even the way people are settled in this city.
Yeah.
So much so that we don't know.
Physical planning, that is.
Yes. We don't know where people live and how they live. So we don't even know how to reach them in terms of trouble like now, like because of COVID. We don't know how to make interventions when we need to intervene so that the vulnerable are taken care of, the disabled are taken care of, the sick are taken care of. We don't have that in place. We need to deal with these issues early enough. Otherwise, people are going to die here. And nobody will know because we cannot even reach them. Okay? That's one. Another thing that needs to be dealt with is security. Is it security or insecurity?
Security.
Okay, security or lack of it.
Or lack of it.
We need to deal with security in this city in a big way because there is no reason why people should live in fear in a city that they call their own, in a country that they call their own, where you can easily die at the hands of other people. Okay? Other people means sometimes law enforcement agencies exercise excessive force, or sometimes thugs who are basically criminals are reigning supreme. There are certain neighborhoods in this city where you can't go. You cannot step in there. And yet, you pay taxes here, and there is a security service that is supposed to take care of you. We need to deal with security in a big way in this city. When I was driving to this show here, somebody told me to close the windows of the car because my phone could easily go. Why? In broad daylight. Why in broad daylight would somebody still think of snatching anybody's phone? We need to deal with these issues so that all the citizens feel safe, very, very safe in this city. Okay? I don't know if you want me to go on.
You can add two.
I can add two.
Yeah.
Health. We need to take care of the health of the people all of Nairobi. Do we have enough dispensaries in this city? The answer is no. Do we, even the few dispensaries that we have and health centers that we have, are they well stocked? Do they have drugs? The answer is no. Nowadays, I took somebody to a hospital in here in Nairobi, and the first thing we were told is to go and buy an exercise book outside the gate to come back so that even his prescription will be written on it. Okay? Which means even a piece of paper is not available in our health centers. So some of our health centers are just there. If they don't have even pieces of paper to write a prescription for you, will they have Panadol? Or will they have a Moxil? Or will they have any antibiotic for you? We do not have enough health facilities, and even those that are there, they are not properly stocked. Okay? We need to deal with that as a city, because this is a city of almost 5 million people. We need to plan ahead in terms of what kind of health service we need to offer to those people. Then we must now talk about personnel. Do we have enough personnel to manage manage these health facilities? Doctors, nurses, lab technicians, radiographers. Do we have them? How long does it take for a citizen of Nairobi County to be seen by a doctor? How long does it take? Do doctors actually see our patients? Do we have enough nurses? We need to be very clear about how we take care of our people, because people are dying from very simple diseases because they are unable to access medical attention. Okay? So education, we talk about COVID has hit education so hard. We still don't know when
time for that will come, when we shall look into matters education, both in Nairobi County and beyond. Many thanks, Mr. Mike Oyeo, who is a policy and a public analyst. He has taken us through at this time, looking into the current happenings in Kenya, the politics of succession of the year 2022, and the chronology of events, especially in Nairobi County, since the inception of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, the wrangles that have been there, and finally, Governor Mike Sonko has given his commitment that he's going to work together with the Nairobi Metropolitan Service. As to whether that will happen, we leave it to time. We appreciate your comments and your overwhelming responses on our social media platforms. From me, Cornelius Omuse, till next Thursday, I wish you a very good night.